My next guest has put together an organization that focuses on young people and is an alternative to Scouting USA. It used to be Boy Scouts, right? But then the Boy Scouts got gobbled up. Military officials now urging the Defense Department to cut ties with Scouting America. So you have Trail Life USA, the largest Christ-centered, boy-focused scout-type organization in the nation. Stephen Ashton, the National Director of Marketing for Trail Life USA, joining me now. Stephen, nice to have you back on the program.
Great to be here. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, so why are the military officials saying, look, no more with Scouting America? I think the name officially changed this year. They came up with a name change here a while back, and then it was delayed, but I think it actually happened this year. Am I right?
It absolutely did. This is their second name change, actually. They were Boy Scouts of America, and then they became Scouts BSA when they decided to add girls to the program. And then recently they have just gone all in and decided to go to Scouting America and remove any part of the word boy from their name officially.
So why? And look, I got to be honest, Stephen. In some places that are remote, where you've got, a dozen boys for scouts and there's one girl has no place to go, I don't mind that. Do you?
I think I do, honestly. There are so few places where boys can go to just experience being a boy and have men pour into them and have that unique boy-specific space. And there are so many places for girls to go. There are a lot of great girl programs. And we have a sister organization. They're called the American Heritage Girls. And they are doing for girls what Trail Life USA is doing for boys. And let's be honest, Girl Scouts of America exists. And that is a place where girls can go and have the outdoor experience and thrive. And as a counterpart to the Scouting America, but there's also American Heritage Girls. We don't need to dilute one of those very few all-male spaces that are left here for boys to go and just have guy time. Because let's be honest, it changes. If you and I are hanging around at a campfire and a woman sits down and at that same campfire, the whole conversation has just changed, and it looks very, very different. And any guy knows that.
Well, that's true, and it's still, you're right, by the way. And I just looked, I popped up on here, girlscouts.org. They didn't change their name, did they?
They sure didn't.
So, double standard, what would you call this?
Well, it's just unfortunate. I really believe I'm an Eagle Scout. Scouting was an important part of my life growing up. It's a big part of how my dad and I built our relationship. It was kind of tense, but when we got outdoors with some other men and had experiences around campfires and learned how to build our relationship, it was paradigm shifting for us. And it was really, really good. And I'm afraid so many boys are missing that. I grew up with 4 sisters, Steve. And I have a great relationship with all 4 of my sisters. But if they would have come on that same camping trip with my dad and I, that dynamic would have been very, very different. And I don't think I would have the relationship with my dad that I do today.
You need real men in this world. You need dads, that's for sure. I can't argue with you. I can't argue with what you're telling me, Stephen. I mean, real men need to mentor boys. We need more men involved in the nuclear family. We need more dads stepping up. We need more of this toxic masculinity, which is nothing more than just being a man. We need a lot more of it, don't we?
Absolutely. Well, and culturally, 43% of boys are raised by a single mom. And if boys go to school, 78% of teachers are female. So where does a boy go to find someone who looks like him? I genuinely believe, Steve, that the feminist cry of the 70s and 80s, it said, "I don't want a man," turned into the women of the 90s and 2000s saying, I don't need a man, turned into women of the 90s and 2000s saying, I don't want a man, which has turned into too many boys today wondering if they should even be a man. There is a lack of that masculine role model for these boys to look to, and they're really getting confused and lost in all of this.
Correct. So it's not going to change back. Scouting America is the way it is. My son is in Scouts. It was the Boy Scouts when he joined. It's not anymore. And there are girls involved with it. But you make some valid points here.
And the shift happened really, I think, around finances. There was a lot of they had a lot of land and money started playing in, and big business said you have to cave to this agenda, and so they began letting girls in, which turned into something I don't think they expected. I guess the first part was they couldn't define a boy anymore, so whatever you identified as a boy could be part of Scouting America. And at their jamborees, they began having boys and girls restrooms and started creeping into this area of what does it mean to be a boy. So I think they decided to allow girls into the program. And Roger Crone, when talking about the reason for the name change, he said our number one job is to get kids into the program. And I would say for us, looking at what's going on culturally, one of the fastest growing suicide rates in America, Steve, is boys between the ages of 10 and 14. And I genuinely believe these boys are starting to hit puberty and they're trying to figure out what does it mean to be a man. And they're really getting confused by a culture that can't tell them the difference. There's nothing unique about you. Everywhere a boy goes, he's told to come inside and sit down and be still and do what he's told.
And behave like a good little girl.
And what he's learning is maybe I'm just a defective girl. Maybe there's something wrong with me. And Steve, there's nothing wrong with that boy. He is all boy. Boys need to be out in the woods, playing with swords, chasing dragons, doing man things, climbing trees. We told that story at a conference and a woman in the front row started laughing. And we stopped for a minute. We said, what's so funny? She said, well, my boys don't just climb trees. They love climbing trees, but when they get to the top of the tree, they want to pee out of the tree. Girls don't do that. Boys and girls are just different. So they're wired differently.
Peeing in public, or if I may be so bold, farting, these are things boys do, isn't it?
It is. It just is. Yeah. And it doesn't make them defective, Steve. It just doesn't. It's not toxic. It's boyhood. We need that space.
I gotta get you to weigh in. I had somebody actually make a comment that could be, doing such things that you just described is bullying. That's how far gone these people are. What you just described is bullying. I'll give you the last word.
We've taken competition out of sports, and where do boys go to win and lose? And those are the things that make us come alive as men: risk and competition, and winning and losing. And when we level that playing field, and the one place boys still get competition is in school, where they're not keeping up with girls. 60% of college is women now, and so we need a space to create strong, capable, confident men. And at Trail Life, that's what we're not about getting most kids in the program. We're about growing godly men, and that's what we need.
Trail Life USA, godly men. Trail Life USA, Steve and Ashton. Yes, they pee out of trees. They're boys. They do that when they're 12 and 14 years old. Steve and Ashton, thank you. You come back anytime.
Thank you, Steve.
All right. Still to come, Dr. Robert Malone is going to be here today. Dr. Robert Malone is going to be here for a half an hour coming up shortly.